Now, a joke apart, for this government, there are some beautiful um, economic policies that have been made, whether we like it or not. There is no government, no matter how bad it may be, there are there are areas that they would probably perform. And for this government, we must also um, acknowledge that fact that in one way or the other, the government has also done its bit. Done its bit, yes. But okay, one of the good policies I think the this government has put in place, which other candidates also promised to introduce then, was fuel subsidy. You see, the level of corruption in that scheme was so terrible. But that aside, now the president or the supporters of the president will tell us or will tell Nigerians that the allocation to state government has increased and state governments are now being given more money. Yet, very few of these states have something tangible to mention. And the last time I checked, subsidy was an exclusive program of the federal government through the Federal Ministry of Finance and the NNPC, which means if that subsidy is removed, it should be pumped into the economy one way or the other. Because whether you like it or not, when you have more people in poverty, the country will not be at peace. That is number one. Number two, no matter the level of reforms you think you are making, it will not get down to the people. And that is what we are fixing in Nigeria. It's not as if the president is just sleeping and waking up. There are policies that are made, but these policies are not getting to the bottom because we have more poor people than the rich or than the average. The last information about poor people in Nigeria, you have almost 130 million people that are poor in Nigeria. And you expect people like that to preach the president that they are doing the right thing? As a matter of fact, by the coming of this government, those that have been thrown into poverty are more than those that have been pulled out of poverty. And that is the reality. Like in my previous video, when the bishop was telling the president should have taken it upon himself to go around or send the vice president, please go around. We need to know what is actually happening. But the president was saying even before he was given birth to, there was hunger in the land. If before you were given birth to, there was hunger, must it continue? That aside, now the first thing I think what the president could have done right, in my own view, this NEL fund of a thing, this educational program, a scheme, is a very beautiful one. Trust me, it's a very beautiful one. And I think after graduation, 2 years after graduation, they start deducting the money from your account just as a means of repayment. I don't think there is any interest on that. But can we look at it from this angle? Immediately, the president announced the removal of a subsidy on the day of his inauguration, and the first major project by the president was the purchase of vehicles for senators and House of Representatives members. We have about 469 of them, 360 at the House of Green Chambers and 109 at the Red Chambers. That is about 469. And each of these persons were bought a vehicle of about 160 million naira. Just one. So if you bring them all together, you are looking about project of over 7 billion naira for just purchase of vehicles alone. Now, let's do a bit of mathematics. For instance, if the government had decided that, okay, this subsidy we are This subsidy we have removed now, we want to channel it into education this year. Yes, this year. We want to channel it into education, for instance. It means the vehicle bought for the senators and House of Rep members, if we are budgeting ₦1 million for each student, ₦1 million for each student, especially those in federal universities and state universities, ₦1 million, it means you will have about 75,000 students, ₦1 million each. You have about 75,000 students. Now, the president went ahead to buy private jets of about 150 billion naira. If you budget ₦1 million for students, it will give you about 150,000 students will benefit from ₦1 million each. 150,000. If you add it to 75,040 students, you have about 225,040 students that would have benefited. This time around now, no loan, because the vehicle that was bought for those people, it was never a loan. It's free. As a matter of fact, some of them, when they lose election, they won't return that vehicle. So we just gave them free 160 million naira plus the humongous amount of money they receive every month. So if the president has channeled this into what is it called? Education, these people will not have to pay back. Or can we consider health? If that 150 billion plus about 7 billion, that's about 157 billion naira. If we had decided that, okay, with this 157 billion naira, we want to invest it into health, just health, imagine what it could have brought to Nigeria by now. Imagine, okay, this 157 billion naira, we want to invest it into small businesses, small and medium scale businesses. Can we train people? Can we just pick out about 100,000 or 200,000 people and train them? Then when they have undergone the training, practical, proper training, not training on paper. When they have undergone the training, can we now give them ₦1 million each to set up a business? At least of the 225,000 you will give this money, I can say it categorically, at least about 150,000 would have their business succeeded. One way or the other, they will also employ. So that you will have a multiplier effect. So I believe that was a total waste. It was a total waste of resources. And that is the major problem we are facing in this country. Now, back to subsidy. The president said subsidy was removed and federal allocations given to state governments and local governments have increased. But there are no results to show for it except for few states. Can we do it this way? Since it is a money paid by the federal government, let's assume, for instance, in 2024, despite the removal of fuel subsidy, according to a report carried by Premium Times, Nigeria was still paying subsidy, and by 2024, it would have ended up at 5.4 trillion that Nigeria was still paying for subsidy. In 2023, it was about 3.6 trillion naira. Let's assume on an average of 3 trillion naira yearly. On an average of 3 trillion yearly. For instance, NEL Fund, again, if we decide to give every student ₦1 million naira, that means at the end of every year, we would have succeeded in training 3 million students. 3 million would have benefited from that 1 million naira each that we just started distributing, buying all sort of madness, all sort of things. If we go by 5 trillion, it will be 5 million. Imagine training small and medium scale businesses and then giving 3 million people 1 million naira each. 3 million, 1 million naira each to go and set up a business. No matter how useless they may be, with close monitoring, at least we have about 2.5 million that will have a successful business. From that 2.5 million, within a year or two, they will employ 1 or 2. So at the end of it all, you may be having more than 5 million people you are pulling out of poverty on a yearly basis. You diversify it. Agriculture, production. By now, this government would have ended up pulling more people out of poverty than they put more people into poverty. You removed fuel subsidy. The money is not, we are not seeing the effect. You said Nelfund, these people will pay back the money. The question is, the vehicles that were bought for House of Rep and Senators, are they refundable? The money we keep using in buying campaign buses, city boy, city man, city girl, city child, city this, city that, are they refundable? Why are we now collecting the one we are giving to students? Why? So this is not about who is working or who is not working. This is the reality. This is just the reality. We spend money recklessly. Where we are meant to invest money, we don't invest money there. We only invest money where they can also steal more. So this is not about someone is being biased or someone. No, this is just the true nature of things. This is it. If you invest 3 trillion in health sector, do you know the number of people it will save? Do you know how Nigeria health sector would have been by now? 3 trillion. At least our primary health care is nothing to write home about. Nothing, absolutely nothing to write home about. It's absolutely nothing to write home about. Imagine investing 3 trillion. Was it last year where the Minister of Health was complaining that they only got 36 million naira? 36 million. Who do us like this? So this is not about Mr. President. Even those that any other person that will get there, until we begin to look at things critically, until we have priorities, the right priorities that will, number one, create jobs for our people, pull people out of poverty, that will lead to proper education system, proper health system. We'll continue to find it difficult in this country. It's not a curse, because our priorities are always wrong. If this government has just done as little that I have just explained, we are not talking of other money that cannot be accounted for, other money that are just flying about that people will hear about, but yet we know nothing. Or just imagine pumping 3 trillion into security. Pumping it into security. Be so deliberate about it. 3 trillion. Train our soldiers, recruit more, get weapons for them, and be sincere about the fight against insecurity. But the whole thing is nothing. You keep pumping money to state governors. Good. What of the one that is going to federal? What are we using it for? This is not about a Yoruba man, an Hausa man, an Igbo man. This is about me, you, the future of our children. These people are almost, they are old. They are old. It is well.